The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, along with Amazon, Audible, Apple, and more, and over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful author based in Los Angeles, and she's got a book out that deals with coronavirus and what it takes to be a superhero. And this is how to deal with the COVID-19 for parents and children. And this book has won the 2020 Gold Mom's Choice Awards. This is just a fantastic book. And of course, if you say it 10 times fast, it's going to be a tongue twister, but it's well worth it as well, too. And just an amazing journey of how she got to be an author from where she was at. And live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful downtown Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen, the author of the award-winning book, Bailey Bloom and the Battle of the Bug, the very talented Jill Rosensweig. Jill, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike. It's good to be here.
And it's great to be with you as well, too. So you're the author of the new book, won the 2020 Gold Mom's Choice Awards and deals with coronavirus, Bailey Bloom and the Battle of the Bug. And before that, you've been in the corporate world for quite some time. You're also a podcast host, and you have a very interesting story to tell how you got to be an author. And before we get into all that, tell us how you first got started.
So I first got started in general, pre-writing books. I was an attorney, and I grew up in Montreal. I moved to the United States after I finished undergrad. I studied law at Boston College Law School, and then I worked as a litigation attorney in New York City for many years before moving out to LA. And I've been in LA for about 5.5 years now. Moving out here, it's interesting, when you're practicing law, you can get licensed in a place, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're perfectly proficient in practicing law in the new state. So there are specific rules for every place. And when I came out to LA, I was sort of confronted with the decision as to whether or not I wanted to learn what I needed to know to practice out here, or maybe pivot and do something new. And I decided to go ahead and pursue certain creative projects instead of continuing to practice law. So I've been working on a novel for the past couple of years. I started a legal podcast where I talk about legal issues and things that are on the media but aren't necessarily clear to the public. And I just started to write children's stories, and this book that I wrote during the pandemic is the first one that I've actually published. So that's kind of the history in a nutshell.
And it sounds like it, too. And what was that one moment that precisely influenced you into what you're doing? You're saying, this is what I'm going to do.
Well, with writing the book, it was kind of accidental, actually. So I've been writing this novel for about 2 years, and I've made it a point to sit down every day and write for at least an hour just to continue the momentum. And I think it's important to have a certain amount of discipline when you're writing, especially when it's such a massive project. And so my kids were at school, and in mid-March, they went to school one day. And while they were at school, we received an email from the school saying that the school was closing effective immediately. So they were at school unaware of the fact that that was their final day. And I went to pick them up from school, and they came home, and they obviously had a lot of questions for me about what was going on with COVID. They had sort of a basic understanding that there was a virus going around, but they really didn't understand the extent of it and how serious it was. And so we had to have some pretty big talks at our house about what was going on and why it was important for them to stay home. And I think my kids were sort of processing it, and I was trying to come up with ways to make it easier for them. And then I saw there was a community in the United Kingdom where people were making rainbow art and putting it up in their windows so that when people were going on social distancing walks, they would not feel as lonely as they were feeling. And so I decided to do that with my kids. And I realized after doing that with them that it made such an impact on them, in the sense that they felt like they were actually making a difference and that they were part of a solution of sorts in the pandemic at large, in terms of making people feel better when they were out on their walks. And so the book that I ended up writing really came about when I sat down to write my novel one day. And instead of writing the novel, I sat down and this story just came out. It was really a reflection of the conversations that we were having at home. It's pretty realistic in terms of what we were actually doing. And I ended up reading it to my kids, and it resonated with them so much that I just decided to go ahead and publish it. So that's really how it happened.
Oh, that's a fantastic story. I mean, it just takes a lot to take on such a subject on your first novel as well. And since we're on the subject of novels as well, who are some of your favorite authors growing up and writers?
Well, when I think about children's book authors, which is kind of the world that I'm in right now, I love books that rhyme. So I really love Dr. Seuss. And
my favorite.
I love Dr. Seuss so much. I love Mo Willems because his stories are so creative and the illustrations are so interesting, but he also bases his stories, some of them, it depends on which ones, but for example, the Nuffle Bunny series is really based upon his real life experiences with his daughter. And I think that for me, you know, in terms of writing my novel and now this children's book, I think it's easier for me to write about things that are somewhat based on real life. And so authors that do that, where they take something that at least the seed of it is real, and then they can get creative from there. But those are the books that I connect with the most. And so those are the inspirations for the book. The children's book, I think, is, for me, a cross between Dr. Seuss, because it rhymes, and this book that I absolutely love called Princesses Wear Pants. And that was kind of the inspiration behind the book, those two types of books.
And what was your favorite children's book growing up for you?
For me, my favorite, I love Judy Blume, but that was a little bit further in, I guess. And I loved the Winnie the Pooh books. I loved all of those books as a kid, and I still love Winnie the Pooh.
That's one of our favorites as well, too. And we'll talk more about Bailey Bloom and the Battle of the Bug in just a minute. Tongue twister, by the way. But first, listen to the mic. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, along with Amazon, Apple, Audible, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with author Jill Rosensweig of Bailey Bloom and the Battle of the Bug here on the Mike Wagner Show. She won the 2020 Gold Mom's Choice Awards, and you can just tell us more about Bailey Bloom and the Battle of the Bug, and basically it's just dealing with COVID and what it takes to be a superhero.
Right. So the book itself, I think that for me, and I'll go back to Dr. Seuss for a second. One of the things I love about Dr. Seuss is that he writes in a very playful way, but there's always a message behind the books that he writes. And for me, this book that I wrote about COVID, it was very important for me to find a way to talk to my kids about coronavirus. And the book is a way to have an organic conversation with your kids about what's going on and how to help them through this pandemic, which I think has really affected kids in pretty staggering ways. And I think that, you know, kids are just little people. And I know for me personally, when something feels overwhelming and it feels like it's beyond my control, the best thing for me to do is find small ways to feel like I am securing some control over the situation. And in a lot of ways, when things feel really overwhelming, the thing that I do is I look to help other people, because that will make me feel better about the situation. And so the book is really, that's the message behind it, is this idea that even young kids can find ways to help people in their community during the pandemic, and they don't need to have a cape and a mask to be a superhero. Really what they need to be doing is looking for those little ways that they can make a difference in their community. And it could be something very small, like painting rocks and leaving it out for people to find when they're going on walks, to finding neighbors in your community that may be having a hard time securing groceries or cleaning supplies, or whatever the case may be, to donating to a charity. But I do think that giving our kids the tools to feel empowered right now is so important. I mean, we're many, many months into this thing, and I think that it's so important to think about how to help our kids through the situation that they're finding themselves in.
And what are some of the other examples in the book as well, too, that people need to know about, and also how can people help as well during the crisis?
So in the book, we talk about, the initial portion of the book talks about these three girls who are best friends, and they love to make believe that they're superheroes. And when the pandemic hits, they immediately think of ways that they can help their community. And one of the characters, who's actually based on my daughter, she is the one that makes rainbow art, and that's really a reflection of what she and I actually did in real life. The other character, the main character, Bailey Bloom, is the one that goes ahead and paints river rocks, and she puts them out. And another character named Rose is the one that draws art using sidewalk chalk on the street. And after that, they then realize, okay, well, we also need to help our neighbors by buying groceries for them, dropping off items at their door. Those are the things that the characters do in the book. But the bigger message of the book, which I think transcends the pandemic, is that eventually I show them going back to school. And the thing that they end up taking from what happened during the pandemic is that they can continue to do kind things for people, and that's the way that they're going to continue to feel like they're superheroes. So when they come back to school, instead of doing those things that they were doing when they were at home, they're actually looking for kids at school that may be having a hard time and need help from them. And so the bigger message, I think, of the book was really to be kind and to look for ways to help people. And I think that that's such an important message for kids that they will take with them well beyond the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really the thrust of the book.
And that's amazing as well, too. And will there be a sequel to Bailey Bloom and the Battle of the Bug, or will there be another book of a different nature? What can we expect from you in 2021 and beyond on that?
I expect for sure there will be a sequel. And I'm also looking at writing other children's books, but for sure the idea of this was that I wanted there to be a bunch of books about these three girls and their various adventures, with the idea that each book would bring with it some sort of message.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's the idea. That's the hope.
Okay. And where can we find the book at?
You can find the book on Amazon. It's available online. And it's also available in other places right now, but I guess the easiest thing for everyone right now is to be shopping online. So if you look up Bailey Bloom and the Battle of the Bug, you can find it on Amazon. And I also have a website where you can find out about Zoom readings that I'm doing. There are also printable coloring pages with the characters from the book on there, and that's jillrosensweig.com.
Wow, that's amazing. Zoom readings. And this comes up, is this come up at a certain time, or is it where you can just go ahead and log in? We're all interested in Zoom.
Yeah, so Zoom readings are basically the new version of a book tour. So I have an events page on the website where I post about upcoming Zoom readings. So you can go on there and look for the next one. And pretty much anyone can log in from anywhere. And I'll be updating that as I go so that people that want to hear me give a reading of the book can go on to the site and see that it's there and then just register for it.
And what's the name of the website again?
JillRosensweig.com.
JillRosensweig.com. We will do that, and we're doing it right now. And we'll get back to more of Jill in just a minute, talking about the podcast and what's coming up. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and over 25 podcast platforms, including Apple, Amazon, and Audible, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with author Jill Rosensweig of Bailey Bloom and the Battle of the Bug here on the Mike Wagner Show. Still working on that tongue twister as well. You also have a podcast you mentioned called The Whole Truth with Jill Rosensweig, and tell us more about the podcast.
That's actually been a very fun project for me. So like I said, I've been practicing law for about 20 years now, but I'm slowly transitioning out of it. But regardless of that, the love for the law has not faded. So I have a podcast where I talk about legal issues. I mostly cover cases that people have already heard about on the news. Mm-hmm. And what I try to do is I dissect them in a way where a non-lawyer will understand what's going on with whatever case it is. So, for example, my last episode was about Breonna Taylor, and I explained things in a very simple way for people to understand exactly what happened there, what various things are in terms of what the law is regarding. For example, the search warrant that was issued in that case was what's called a no-knock search warrant, and I explained what that is and why that's different than your typical search warrant and why a court might issue that search warrant. So I try to really break things down for people in a non-biased way. And the idea of it is to not be slanted one way or the other. I present the facts, I explain the law, and people can come to whatever conclusions they feel about it. But I really want people to understand what's actually going on without there being that media bias that we often see these days.
Mm-hmm. And that's very important as well, too. So it's basically just a podcast that's breaking down the law into plain language.
Yes, it's for non-lawyers and lawyers alike. But definitely, I want someone who has never seen a courtroom, never taken a legal course to understand what's going on with the law.
Okay. And where can we find the podcast at?
You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts, iHeartRadio. It's pretty much everywhere.
Okay, and not only Jill is an author of the book Bailey Bloom and the Battle of the Bug, she's also a podcast host. And what else do you have planned as well too, besides a couple of books? And what are some of the other ventures you're looking to do in 2021 and beyond, and hopefully avoid the COVID?
Yes, hopefully avoid it. Well, I'm very busy with my kids, so that takes up a fair amount of my time. I have both kids at home from school, so they're doing distance learning right now. And in between dealing with kindergarten class and learning about science and art right now, I feel like I'm back in kindergarten. I am trying to write this next installment of Bailey Bloom. I'm continuing with my novel, and I'm recording an episode a week for my podcast. So with all of that combined, I'm pretty busy.
It sounds like you're very busy as well, too, and get the cat in a hat, too, for me as well. So
Yes. Yes.
Yes, very indeed. I was going to come up with Dr. Seuss, but my mind went blank, and so I do have to thank. So
That was good.
Thank you. It just came out of my head, said Fred. So we're here with author Jill Rosensweig of Bailey Bloom and the Battle of the Bug here on the Mike Wagner Show. A big thank you for your time. You've been great. And just a couple of things. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Wow. That's a great question. I think that in terms of my legal career, I would say my father, without a doubt. My father was an extremely accomplished attorney, and he has taught me so much, and really I look up to him in so many different ways. But I think that my mom, in certain respects, my mom died when I was 19 years old, but she had a certain spirit about her, and this sense of never being too old to try something new. I think that came from her. And so in terms of my career trajectory and my willingness to try new things, I think that very much comes from her.
I think that's really inspirational as well. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Well, I think that ties into it. I think that the number one thing I would say is don't be afraid to try something new. And I will disclose my age, which I don't often do, but I'm 46 years old. And I think a lot of people can get stuck doing things that they don't really enjoy. And the one thing that I would say is really try to carve out time to pursue the things that you love. And even if you're not quitting your job right now, at least carve out that little window every day to do the things that you love. And eventually that might become your career.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're very truthful as well, too. And as they say, to tell the truth, all the truth, and nothing but the truth. But if you're a dentist, you just say you tell the whole tooth, all tooth, and nothing but the tooth.
Yes, something like that.
All right. Once again, author Jill Rosensweig of Bailey Bloom and the Battle of the Bug here on the Mike Wagner Show. Also podcast host of The Whole Truth with Jill Rosensweig. Jill, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. And once again, just tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? And where can people purchase your book?
Thank you so much. It's been great to be here. I would love for people to follow me on Instagram. I have an Instagram handle for my book, which is Jill Rosensweig Author. I also have an Instagram handle for my podcast, which is The Whole Truth Pod. People can find my podcast wherever they listen to podcasts. It's The Whole Truth with Jill Rosensweig. They can find my book, Bailey Bloom and the Battle of the Bug, on Amazon. And please check out my website. There are lots of fun things on there. It's jillrosensweig.com.
That is very fantastic. Once again, Jill, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely great. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. And don't forget to keep in touch.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.